Child Connect kids, we're back for part 2 of the lesson, and we're going to start with this question. Pretty much, well, let's back up, first of all. These are kids who are doing stream investigation. They're trying to find out stuff about the stream, but let's think about a doctor. So how does a doctor determine how healthy you are? And I'm going to ask the kids here in class while I pause this video. So the kids in this class said all the things that happen in the doctor's office, the different tests is the way they do it. Now, when these kids are doing stream monitoring right here, they're collecting critters, and let's see how we determine the health of the stream. So I'd like you to turn your page over to the back now. We're on the back, number 6. If we want to determine the health of a stream, not a person, we're going to be looking at physical channel measurements. Please write that down in the first blank. Okay, the next one is water chemistry. Next one is bioindicators. And the next one is stream side habitat assessment. Get those written down. All right, so we're going to start out with the physical channel measurements. These are things like velocity, and velocity is how fast, oh boy, catch it, thank you. How fast water moves, the width of the river, how wide it is, the average depth of the width of the river, and the discharge. That is how much water is passing through this much space per second. All right, if you're a hydrologist, you would figure that out. Physical channel measurements are done with tools like measuring tapes and stuff like that, having to go in the river and measure down and wide. Here's a guy out there measuring depth. This is a scientist who's got his little ruler in the water there, his meter stick. Uh-oh. Okay, now we're going to look for stuff. We're going to look for pH that is good for aquatic life. Now pH is something we're going to talk about later. That's a measure of whether it's something acidic or basic. The scale runs from 1 or 0 to 14. We will definitely do more with this later when we study water. Just keep in mind, this side is more acid, this side is more basic. The farther you go this way, the more acidic it is, like Coke and your stomach acid. And this way we're talking about soaps and detergents. All right, so what we want to do is find the ideal pH range for trout. You can find it by looking at the thing here. Take a peek at it. Yes?
6.5.
6.5 to 7.5. So write that next for pH range for trout. In case you're having trouble finding out, we are right in this section right here. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to look at the temperature for what trouts might like. Who can find the temperature that's best for trout? Look at the chart. Where is it? It would be, yes. Less than 14 degrees centigrade. Right there. Write that on your paper, please. Less than 14 degrees centigrade. Okay, now we're looking about dissolved oxygen in the water. So spawning is when they're making their eggs. What is the right parts per million of dissolved oxygen for spawning? That would be
7.
Greater than 7 parts per million. Please write greater than 7. That means for every 1 million parts, 7 of them will be oxygen. So if you take the molecules and you have 1 million molecules, 7 of those molecules will be oxygen. And how about for growing? What's the best range for growing for trout? Everybody?
6.
That's greater than 6 parts per million. Greater than 6 ppm. All right, moving on. So what are bioindicators? Any living organism whose presence indicates the quality of the environment. Get that written down, please.
What now?
Okay, who knows what bio means? Everybody?
Life.
Life. Bio means life. So what that means is these are critters or living things that help us determine how healthy a stream is. A bioindicator, okay? And the ones that we use are called benthic macroinvertebrates. Benthic macroinvertebrates. You go to the next section. Benthic means bottom dwelling. Macro means large enough to see. Invertebrates have no backbone. Please mark that down on your paper. Okay, so again, benthic macroinvertebrates, say macroinvertebrates.
Macroinvertebrates.
Say benthic macroinvertebrates.
Benthic macroinvertebrates.
Benthic means bottom dwelling. Macro means big enough to see, and then vertebrates means they have in the background. So if you can see it with your naked eye, it's a macroinvertebrate. Okay, so bioindicators, they're looking for bioindicators here. They're collecting them with nets and stuff like that, boots. This guy is sorting through what they find to find little critters. And he's finding little tiny stuff that you can see because it's macro, but they're still very small. So we're going to look at 3 categories, okay? The first category are mayflies, stoneflies, and caddisflies. They are pollution sensitive. Please write that down, pollution sensitive. So that means that if these critters are in the water, they're only there if the water is very, very clean because they're very sensitive to pollution. They will not survive in pollution. So if you have these things, you've got good, healthy water. Now the next category with, let's see, scuds, dragonflies, and damselflies, these are somewhat tolerant. They can handle a bit of pollution. Please that's somewhat tolerant. Write that down. Okay, the final group is goes under C. These are the pollution tolerant ones. These guys can handle it. They can be in water that's really polluted. So if you find these guys, there's a chance your water is not very clean at all. Aquatic worms and midge larvae.